Hey, I'm Noam Weissman, and this is Unpacking Israeli History, the podcast that takes a deep dive into some of the most intense, historically fascinating, and often misunderstood events and stories linked to Israeli history. This episode of Unpacking Israeli History is generously sponsored by the Lindenbaum family, by Amiel, by Felice, by Ariel Lindenbaum Sabag, by Jean. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, yalla, let's do this. Nuseir Yassin, known to tens of millions of people around the world as Nas Daily, grew up in an Arab town in northern Israel to a Muslim family of Palestinian heritage. He went to Harvard. Pretty good. He worked in tech. And then in 2016, he quit his job, picked up a camera, and committed to making one 1-minute video every day for 1,000 days. What started as a personal challenge became something much bigger. Today, Nas Daily has 68 million followers, billions of views, that's with a B, and a media company that reaches 300 million people every single month. But here's what makes Nuseir really special and why I wanted him on this show. He is proud of his Palestinian and Israeli identities, both of them. He holds both of those words at the same time, and he refuses to let go of either one. In a world that is constantly demanding that people like him choose, he leans into the complication. And that has cost him. It's cost him followers, friendships, deals. He has been celebrated by people who see him as a bridge builder and attacked by people on both sides who think that kind of bridge building is itself a betrayal. So naive, even. After the 7th of October, he wrote something that stopped a lot of people in their tracks. He said that for the longest time, he had identified as Palestinian first, Israeli second. And then, after the attack, he flipped it. Israeli first, Palestinian second. Not because he stopped loving Palestine, but because, as he put it, sometimes it takes a shock like this to see clearly. That is the conversation I wanted to have. Not about politics, not about ceasefires or negotiations, but about identity. About what it means to hold two things that the world tells you cannot coexist. Nuseir, it's an honor to have you on the show. I love your content.
Thank you.
No, but not in a weird way.
It's hard to make.
I love your content.
Thank you.
It's excellent. And it's the type of thing that my children and I could watch together.
And you know, I make a lot less of it these days.
Okay. Why?
Yeah, I have other priorities.
Okay. So I don't want to go into your other priorities yet. I want to talk about you as a person, you as a content creator. I do want to hear about your priorities and things that you're working on. But I think it's awesome. I think what you've done for the world is like, I don't know if it's the reason you did it, but I listened to your first podcast that you've ever released. Yeah. It was part of Nas Talks.
Yeah. An experiment during COVID.
Yes. Okay.
And then I discontinued the podcast.
Why'd you do that?
Breadth versus depth. I was in my breadth era. Okay.
Well, one of the things that you spoke about was the authenticity of the podcast experience.
Yeah.
But I loved listening to how you think about content creation. I loved listening to the process. I loved everything about that. But one of the things that you did is you went to so many different communities across the world.
Yes. So
I had this like basic question for you. It's a philosophical question.
Ooh, let's go. And to the viewer, we're going to disagree in this conversation, so please pay attention.
We'll see. Can't predict disagreement.
We have to disagree.
We have to. Okay, to sharpen each other's thoughts.
Exactly.
Okay. Nuseir, are people inherently good or bad?
Oh, I feel like that's a very easy question. You think that's a hard question?
I think that philosophers debated this question.
No, I think it's ridiculous for anybody to think somebody is inherently bad. I think it is the most cocky thing to believe that somebody is inherently bad.
Why?
In my mind, I translate that to, you are born out of the womb of your mother as a bad person. You really think that's a possibility?
Well, the great philosophers would say either, people are born with original sin, right? That's one way to view life.
Oh, and I assume the philosophers were not part of those people, right?
And then there's another group of people who would say, no, there's inherently good. And then there are other people who say, no, the world is neutral and humans are, neutral, and whatever you choose to do with that, you choose to do with it. But you've met so many different people.
Yeah.
So when you look at people, how do you look at them at first glance? When you first meet people from all different communities? But the reason I'm asking is like the concept of universal morality.
Yeah.
Right? Like someone in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah. Yeah. Love Papua New Guinea.
What do you say?
I love Papua
New
Guinea.
You love it?
Yeah.
You mentioned it on the first podcast.
Yeah.
That's why I say it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know, and in Ukraine and in China and in North Korea, you did not have a good experience. And that was one of the most popular YouTube videos that you've done.
That's correct.
You did not have a great experience there. But the North Koreans themselves, the people are good, bad? How do you think about it?
So I think you kind of alluded to this. My general view on life today is that people are a lot more malleable than we think they are. They're almost as malleable as like a rubber band. You can really shift humans, and it all boils down to how you grew up. So I think everybody comes out of their mother's womb, probably like neutral, just a bunch of cells put together. And I think your experiences shape you to become a selfish person or into a generous person. Your insecurities shape you to be, a successful person or a non-successful person. But I think everybody inherently either good or neutral, but no such thing as born bad. And I think that belief almost leads you towards another Holocaust. Almost leads you towards another dehumanization of humans.
To believe that someone is inherently bad.
Yeah, because you could easily extend that to Somalians. Somalians are born inherently bad. And it's like inherently not, as successful as us Westerners. And you see that in the news lately. I just think that's just a dangerous way to think. And I think you have to put effort not to think that. Because how like we all regress to the mean. We all like you have to really wait. Like the default state of the brain is not to think, and the default state of the body is not to move. So you end up getting fat and dumber as you get older.
Right.
So you really got to fight against the default state. And the default state of the brain is to be lazy and therefore think, I'm good, they're all bad and evil. So I think you gotta work out your brain.
It's really wild. I was reading about the Rwandan genocide, which people don't talk about that genocide.
Interesting.
1994,
yes.
Right? Horrific. Around 800,000 killed.
Yes.
And you're like, wait, what is if the general person, if you were to ask them the Hutus versus the Tutsis, why? Why do you?
There is no clear difference between them.
There's no difference.
No, I made like 10 Nas Daily videos about them. There's no clear difference.
There's no difference, right?
No. You should go to the Museum of Reconciliation or something in Rwanda, or the Museum of Genocide Museum or something, and it tells you the story of how men killed their wife. They killed their wife because she was a Tutsi. I forgot who killed who.
Yeah,
the
Tutsis
were killed. Yeah, now Tutsis are in power.
Yeah.
And it's like the radio and the media affected that over one night. Right. You hear the radio saying, all right, just kill your neighbor, kill your wife, kill your colleague. And they just did it.
Right. And that gets to the original question of, are people inherently good or bad? And if you start seeing people around you, your wife, your spouse, your whatever, you could start dehumanizing them right away. Yeah.
And that's why people are malleable. If there wasn't that radio show in Rwanda, if there wasn't that propaganda machine from the government, you wouldn't have shape-shifted humans.
Wow.
And they wouldn't kill each other.
That's the power. The power of media, the power of propaganda is huge.
The power of what you do.
So let's talk about how you were shaped.
Damn, my brain is thinking now.
Okay, let's talk about how you were shaped.
Let's go.
Nuseir. I want to know who you were before Nas Daily. I want to know a little bit about your identity, how you got to where you got to before you went to Harvard. So made your parents very proud, I presume.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. And then you started making content, but I want to understand. And then, you got a job. You did some. You did the standard post Harvard things.
Yeah.
I want to understand your upbringing. I want to understand. One of the things that you said is that, like, when you were 13 years old, you went to a bar mitzvah and you didn't understand anything about Jews, right?
I couldn't even communicate with them.
You couldn't communicate with them. Why?
They spoke Hebrew, and I only learned Hebrew. I never spoke it. And
so where are you from? Let's go there. Where are you from?
So I'm from northern Israel, in a small town called Arabi. When I grew up there, it was a village, not a town. It's next to Sechnin. It's next to Nazareth. Nazareth is next to Haifa, and Haifa is next to Tel Aviv. So I'm from nearby Tel Aviv.
Okay.
For the average listener, I'm from next to Tel Aviv.
How would you say Araba, like someone who...
Arabi.
How would I say it?
You wouldn't.
Okay.
Don't try.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Okay, continue. So I can't pronounce it, but okay. So you grew up in near Tel Aviv, not really, but and you met Jewish kids when you were 13, or you knew Jewish kids, but you went to a bar mitzvah. You didn't know much about Judaism or
nothing,
even though you grew up in the Jewish state.
Yeah, absolutely zero. I knew the language. I understood the language. I watched the news every day.
That's a big deal that you knew the language.
Well, we learned it at school.
But a lot of, let's say if I get this right, Arab citizens of Israel, Israeli Arabs, Palestinian Israelis, et cetera, et cetera.
Arab 48, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Right, whatever you want to. Don't, I mean, oh no, they do speak Hebrew. How would you actually answer this?
They actually understand Hebrew perfectly.
They understand perfectly.
They
Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza, though, don't.
Not so much. But it's just we don't practice it enough. A lot of my parents speak it super, super fluently, and same as my extended family, like the older people, because they work in that environment, right? So my dad is extremely fluent in Hebrew, right? He's like really good at it. The younger generation that doesn't really work in a Hebrew environment, it was me. When you don't practice something, so I'm so excited to tell you, by the end of the year, I made a personal commitment to become super fluent in Hebrew.
The end of what year?
This year.
End of this year.
I understand everything in Hebrew. I just never spoke it. But...
Could you give me a sentence?
כן, אני מבין את עברית, אני מדבר עברית, יש לי מבטא קשה בעברית.
גם אני.
Okay, so you do
אני אמריקאי.
Again, that you cannot...
Yeah, what can I do about that?
You have a label.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I really believe in learning the language.
Okay. Okay, so we're getting into your story. We're getting into Nas Daily. You were someone that grew up with a specific identity of what? Palestinian? Israeli? What are you?
My girlfriend tries to define me, and she had a really good explanation for I am. She said, "You're nothing. You are an orb." I'm an orb. That primarily what I am is I want to fly above religion. I want to fly above organized religion. I want to fly above political labels, country labels. I want you to view me as Nuseir, my name, right? That's my primary interest. Now, if you ask me what am I in the context of this podcast, I'm an Israeli citizen. I'm a person who was born and raised in Israel and who, no matter how much Israel didn't love him back, he loves the idea of Israel, and he wants to build on that idea with fellow Israelis, the idea of innovation, of democracy, of freedom of speech, of surviving under pressure. I love these ideas, and that is actually what an Arab Israeli is. It's surviving under pressure, I don't think we have as much innovation as the Jewish Israelis, but we should. So that's who I am. I'm Israeli first, but I'm also Arab. I don't share the same Jewish experiences of a Shabbat, although I'd like to.
You got to come to me for Shabbat.
Thank you. I will.
I'm serious.
Yeah. We love Shabbat. Me and my girlfriend,
great.
we host Shabbat all the time.
Do you host Shabbat?
Yeah, we host Shabbat.
Shabbat's a special thing in Judaism.
It is a special thing. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. I think you should take that and commercialize it.
I think a lot of people are doing the digital detox thing, the 25-hour digital detox.
Commercialize it. Somebody should build maybe WeWork or WeFlow or Flow by Adam.
And he lives right near you.
Yeah. He's commercializing Shabbat.
Okay, but you said a lot of things there. You said a lot of things.
Yeah.
One of the things that you said is that Israel didn't love you back.
Absolutely not.
What does that mean? And what is it? And in the broader context of someone who teaches Israeli history, I want to really understand what that means for someone who is, and you didn't describe yourself, by the way, as Palestinian either. You said Arab. You kept on saying Arab.
Yeah.
And I just want to give statistics for you that I have that my producer gave me. The Moshe Dayan Center survey of Arab citizens of Israel asked, what is the most important component of your personal identity? 33% said Arab identity, 28% said Israeli citizenship, 24% said religious identity, and 13% said Palestinian identity. What would you didn't say Palestinian there. So I had two questions within there. One is, why did you not say Palestinian?
Yeah.
And number two is, what do you mean Israel didn't love you back?
So let me answer the first question first. Palestinian and Israeli are the two most news-making headlines,
in the world.
topics in the world, right? So there's this insane global pressure to force every Palestinian to remain Palestinian and to feel Palestinian until the end of days. You, your kids, your grandkids, your grandkids must feel Palestinian. And there's this pressure is immense, especially immense if you're a public figure. Immense. DJ Khaled, right? Nas Daily, whoever has a 10% Palestinian root, you must continue the struggle. And I think after October 7th, I really had a self-introspection and I said to myself, this extremism does not represent me. I have nothing in common with a person from Gaza. I have nothing in common with the person from the West Bank, no matter how much I love them, I want to support them, but I have nothing in common with them. 77 years or whatever it is, living under a democracy in Israel with a powerful passport, traveling the world, exposed to Hebrew media, shapes you into a different human. Culturally, I became different from a West Bank Palestinian and a refugee in Lebanon and a refugee in America. And so I just asked myself, do I embrace this Palestinian identity because I want it, or is it forced on me by the world? These are really important questions every Arab Israeli should first. And I know for a Jewish Israeli, nothing pleases them more than somebody asking themselves these questions, because you should enforce Israeli identity on all your citizens. That's the only way to build a country. You should enforce it on the Orthodox Jews. You should enforce it on the Arab Israelis. We should all go serve in the military or do some...
Arabs should be serving the military.
Military or community service. You absolutely must forcefully integrate your citizens into one country, because Israel allows too much freedom in a way. Hard to believe.
What do you mean?
What I'm saying is crazy. If you want to be an Orthodox Jew and just study for the rest of your life.
When you say Orthodox, you mean the ultra-Orthodox. They're called Haredim.
Yeah, the Haredim, yeah.
Okay.
If you want to be an ultra-Orthodox Jew and study for the rest of your life as a form of, fighting for the state of Israel and not even go to the army and just like literally live in a yeshiva, you can. If you want to be an Arab Israeli Palestinian citizen and advocate for Palestine from your basement inside Israel and travel the world with your Israeli passport and say, I am Palestinian and I support Palestine, you can. And if you want to be a gay person in Tel Aviv and march on the pride and have zero respect for religion, you can. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing.
Right, it's amazing. It's beautiful. So that's why I say it's on the extreme of freedom. But you don't get one Israel, you get 5 Israels.
And then then here's what happens as a result of all of this. Then the shapers, the tastemakers of Israeli society becomes a very small percentage of the country itself.
The tastemaker as in
the people who ultimately shape the culture, meaning if the Haredim are not part of the Israeli army,
absolutely,
and the Arab citizens are not part of the Israeli army,
and the Ethiopian Jews are not part of Israel either.
No, but what do you mean? They go to they participate. They participate seriously in the Israeli army.
How truthful should we be in this podcast?
Whatever you need.
Whatever I need?
Yeah.
Let's keep the people listening.
Well, but if you're going to say there's discrimination, of course there's discrimination.
I just say they're not as integral part of the country as they can be and should be.
Okay.
Because we are okay with them doing the menial labor work. We are okay with them doing frontline army. We're okay with them the not so glamorous jobs. I think we allow them to that. No, we should force them.
To what?
To, participate in the economy as much as a Tel Aviv Ashkenazi guy. I think the number one on top of the pyramid in Israel is you.
Not me.
The version of you in Israel.
Right. How do you know I'm Ashkenazi?
I have eyes.
It's the biggest insult yet. I mean, that's not true. Ashkenazi, I love my people. Sorry.
My girlfriend is Ashkenazi. Okay. No, I'm in love with Ashkenazi.
My best friends are Ashkenazi. Right?
Yeah. Even she.
I want it to be Sephardic. Sorry for the record.
Yeah, you wanted that until you apply for a job.
Okay. Really? Still? Come on. Israeli society is like my first cousin.
How many non-Ashkenazi prime ministers has Israel had?
How many? Zero.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay. That's it. So look, what I'm saying is in Israel, there's not only 5 Israels, there's a parent. I'm not here to criticize. I love Israel. Take that, clip it, put it on the freaking social media. I want to make it better.
That's an amazing thing.
We together.
Yeah.
And we're here saying there are structural problems. If we solve these, we get a wonderful country.
What is Israeli identity then? Like, what is it? What is you say you want to be Israeli? What does it mean to be Israeli?
So
what is the identity itself?
Yeah, it's hard. It really is hard to define.
Yeah.
If I were to define it, and again, everybody will have a different answer.
I want to know your answer.
I think it's giving a middle finger to the world and just surviving. That's what it is to be Israeli. A middle finger to the world and surviving. And in the last week, I was just in Israel, and I went to a desalination plant. Okay. This is going to be the most inspiring story about a desalination plant.
I love a good desalination plant.
So nobody knows this, but before 2005, Israel had zero water from the ocean, from the sea. And all the water came from like traditional sources running out of water. You think Jordan is going to give you water? They have none. You think Lebanon is going to give you water? They don't have none. They don't care about you. Egypt, they don't care about you, and they have none. You're going to die of thirst as a country. And then within the last 20 years, Israel built 7 desalination plants. Now, 80% of the water in Israel is desalinated. 80%, from 0 to 80% in 20 years. And guess what? There's so much water in Israel right now that they're filling up the Sea of Galilee. It's the first time in the history of humanity. I'm going to say this again. It's the first time in the history of humanity where a country desalinated water to put it in a lake, where a sea and an ocean saved a lake. And the lake of Jesus, no less, Sea of Galilee, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that's survival through water. And you can do this again through energy, through gas, through technology, through innovation, through having a nuclear weapon, okay, that you may or may not have.
Right.
Thank you, Shimon Peres. It is surviving against all odds. That's what it means to be Israeli, to me.
And the question is, who's contributing to that? Who's part of that? And only if you have equity in that, do you get to be part of it? Do you get to reap the positives, the benefits of it? So you're a big believer of integrating fully into society, and putting religion, like okay. When you hear Israel's national anthem, something I've always wanted to ask.
Great question. Yeah, I know the question. But say it for the audience.
Okay, so my question is the Israeli national anthem. I get goosebumps when I hear it, okay? And I'm an American.
Wow.
And it's Kol od baleva penima nefesh Yehudi homia. It's about the longing of Jews. By the way, if you hear it, it's also Jews from the West going to the East, which is interesting, Ashkenazi, right? Because most of the Jews living in Israel now are from North Africa and the Middle East.
Yeah.
But the song was written during the time where Jews were primarily migrating or returning from the West to the land of Israel, to what was called Palestine at the time. And then that became Israel's national anthem. And I wanted to know, someone who's so proud to be Israeli, how you feel about it when you are not Jewish.
So how many times do you think I sang the national anthem?
Could you sing it right now?
In my life total, how many times do you think I sang it?
Zero.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. That tells you something.
So what is it? What does it tell you?
One is I don't know it. I know how it sounds, but I don't know it. Number 2 is I was never taught it. In my schools, in Arab schools, I went to an Arab school, speaking Arabic, Arab students, 100% Arab students, Muslim and Christian, 0 Jewish students. I was never taught it. I was never asked to sing it. And you know what's funny? I think that's a new concept, that I was not asked to do it, because my dad told me when he was growing up in Israel, he was raising the Israeli flag.
Really?
In school. And don't quote me on this, but from what I hear, he said that schools were a lot more like promoting the Israeli national identity. Raising the flag on Independence Day and celebrating it, maybe in the 70s or 80s or something. And that's incomprehensible to imagine today. And that's what I mean by too much freedom. Israel has allowed us to self-segregate into an Arab village where, by the way, we don't want to live next to you guys.
Who's you guys?
The Jews.
Okay.
Yeah, being very,
Wait,
very honest.
you're saying the Arab citizens of Israel also want their own distinct identity?
Of course. Whoever comes and says we are such victims and the victim and the oppressor and the oppressed, I hate this whole oppressor mentality.
What is it? Wait. What is oppressor mentality?
It's like somebody powerful, somebody weak. The powerful is always wrong and the weak is always right. Right? That's essentially oppressor oppressed. Okay. And because I'm always oppressed, everything bad in my society is because I'm oppressed. Not because of my actions, not because of my ability to make decisions. It's because I'm oppressed.
It gets back to the beginning of the conversation about like how you're born. Like you have no choice if you're good or you're bad. You're like, that's why you don't like it. Because like you have the condition, you have the ability to change your conditions is what you believe.
Absolutely. I am a living example of that. I was the first Arab Israeli to go to Harvard, and it's not by luck. It's a lot of luck. It's not just by luck. It's a lot of luck, to be clear. Lots of luck.
Something you said on your first podcast is the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah, exactly. Like a moving man is bound to meet his luck. What I'm trying to say is we don't want to live next to you because it's called self-segregation. It's not segregation by the authority of the government. It's self-segregation. I do not want a Jewish neighbor, and the Jewish neighbor does not want me as their neighbor. Simple as that. This is what you get in Israel today. So not only is the Jewish society at fault here, but the Arab society is also at fault for not wanting to integrate. Which is just easier to talk in Arabic with people like us. Right. It's normal human behavior.
Right.
This is what I mean by Israel has not done a good enough job in integrating both of us. Not done it.
And you said earlier, let's get back to this, Israel wasn't good to you. What did you mean by that? And do you still feel that way now?
No, I don't feel that way now. I'm talking about how my first 18 years of life.
Okay.
What does it mean Israel not good to me? I go to the Jewish town to buy clothes. I felt inferior. I didn't feel like equal. I looked at the high-end positions and nobody was Arab.
But there are Supreme Court justices that are Arab, and there are members of the Israeli government that are Arab.
Yeah.
But
it's good. It's good counteract.
I'm not trying to be Jewish and disagree with you, but I want to know what you mean.
Think the 13-year-old version of me knows what the Supreme Court was?
But so what is it? What do you mean?
That's
then?
not an interesting position for a 13-year-old.
Besides being a YouTuber, what is?
Exactly. Anything in government, like a prime minister, and probably in the news. Are you in the news? You're a news anchor.
Lucia Harish,
she's a new phenomenon. Not in my childhood.
Right.
So she's great, but not in my childhood.
Right.
So growing up, I see that we live here, but there's a concrete ceiling to us. You can only get this much. And later on, I realized that ceiling is one because we're not trying enough. You can actually break that ceiling, and I'm trying to break that ceiling every single day. But it didn't feel like Israel cared about me. From the national anthem, it was not for me. The general discourse was not for me, and the opportunities did not seem like they were for me. And I had no Jewish friends. So you can clearly think for the first 18 years of my life, I didn't feel love back from Israel.
And
I did not extend any love.
You didn't extend love to your country.
Honest, I didn't extend any love either. That's why America.
How did you start feeling love from Israel?
When I landed at Harvard, when I landed in America for the first time.
What happened there?
I met my first Israeli friends. And 5,000 miles away from Israel, when you're surrounded by Norwegians and Americans from Kansas, you feel a belonging to the Israeli Jew.
One of my colleagues, a guy named Yirmiyahu Danzig, he has that Semite. Have you seen that on social?
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. So he's Unpacked. He works for Unpacked.
Oh, no way.
He's Unpacked. Yeah. So he spoke about how when he went to university, he grew up in San Diego, but he's a fascinating guy, and his mother's Guyanese, his dad is Ashkenazi, I believe. But he said that when he got to college and he met Palestinians, he's like, these are my people. Exactly like you're saying. Like he's like, I just feel like growing up as an Israeli, as someone who was like great grandparents lived in Israel, and then their grandparents, whatever, and then he met them in the Palestinians in university. He's like, these are my people also, like from the Middle East. Like
absolutely.
And you felt that.
I absolutely felt that. There is so much more in common between me and a Jewish, gay, Israeli Tel Avivian than with me and a Palestinian from Jordan.
Oh, wow.
So much more. And it was really obvious my first year at Harvard
What
because
happened?
I met the Palestinians in Jordan. I didn't relate.
Why?
Well, they grew up under a monarchy.
Right.
You must think this and you must do this and you cannot deviate. Otherwise, you're going to jail. That's a big part of it. Gay people? What is gay people?
Right. They don't exist.
They don't exist. So I just could not connect. And all I saw was almost like this incessant hate towards Israel. And I'm like, guys, like, I'm from Israel. I know it's bad, with some stuff, but it's not that bad. And so it was really wrestling between my personal truth versus what people think Israel is. And almost always your personal truth wins.
2 questions follow up for you.
Yeah.
Let's see if I remember them out of my head. One is, let me speak out of the position of someone who's skeptical from the Palestinian identity.
Yeah.
They might say, or someone who's sympathetic towards that identity, and I know that you have issues with that framing, which I do too as well. But they might say, "Oh, sire, are you a propagandist for Israel?" That's what it sounds like. How do you respond to that?
I respond to that is, I would freaking love to be. And this whole idea of making you feel bad for saying your opinion, I'm over it. I'm freaking over it. So
Why are you over it?
I'm over it because these questions are asked to instill fear. They're not asked to get knowledge and curiosity. They're asked to instill fear. Are you the Z word? Oh my God. Are you
Zionist is talking about.
Yeah. Are you associated with Israel? Like shut the hell up. Number one. Number two is, I want to promote my personal truth, whether you like it or not. And just like you can easily promote Pakistan or Jordan and Egypt for all the terrible stuff that the country does, you still promote it as Dunya, the mother of all nations, Egypt. Egypt could do no wrong except put you in jail for nothing, right? Why can you promote that? No problem. And why can I not promote my country despite its flaws? So I hate questions that are predicated on the idea of instilling fear. Are you doing that? Yes, I am. Then what? So that's number one. I don't like that. I don't like that framing of these questions, and it no longer scares me.
It did scare you at some point.
Of course. The first 6 years of my life, it scared the crap out of me.
First 6 years of your Nas Daily life.
My Nas Daily, yeah. So, and also my whole life, it scared the crap out of me.
Right.
Oh my God, what if they say I am?
So you came out.
I came out, you know what? Because I have enough money.
Right.
I have FU money.
Right.
And I have enough business all around the world. I have offices in 4 countries.
Right.
Uncancelable. And when you become uncancelable, it's freedom.
It's freedom.
It's freedom. So my advice to every listener is become uncancelable so you can say whatever the hell you want.
I had Scott Galloway on my podcast in London. He's, awesome podcaster, strong opinions. I kind of feel a similar way about the way he comes at issues. And like he says, like, I don't understand these questions about like whether or not I'm a Zionist. Is a Zionist... A lot of young Jews don't identify as Zionists, by the way, because there's a statistic that I heard from JFNA, from Jewish Federations of North America.
Yeah.
88% of young Jewish people or Jews believe that Israel should exist as a Jewish and democratic state, and only 37% identify as Zionist.
That tells you that's an education gap.
It's an education
That's
gap.
all it is. Because the definition of Zionism they get from TikTok. You know who the biggest Zionist I met in my life?
Who?
My grandmother. My Palestinian grandmother for hundreds of years is the biggest Zionist I met.
Because?
She was at Hadassah Hospital last week. And she's 80 years old. She's having health problems. And Hadassah Hospital took such great care of her. And it's like top-notch medicine. Started by 38 women in 1914 in New York. 38 Jewish women looked at this part of the world, the Middle East, and said, you know what? There's too much poverty. There's too much disease. Let's send 2 women to go build a clinic and give pasteurized milk to kids in the Middle East. Because we are Zionists. That's literally word for word what this said. 38 women said, we are the Zionist women of New York. Let's go and help kids in in Jerusalem and Haifa and all that stuff. And 114 years later, my grandma's life is saved because of that Zionist project. Now, that's why my grandma's Zionist.
Right. There's a Palestinian thinker named Muhammad Dajani Dawoodi who created a movement called Wasatiyah, which is moderation in Islam. And he said he was part of Fatah. He was very anti-Israel for a long time. And it changed actually when he went into an Israeli hospital, when he saw the experience of the hospitals, the doctors, the nurses taking care of, I can't remember if it was his dad or his mom, but he's like, he thought that they would be opposed to them, that he thought that they would be opposed to him, that they would be like, you're like, we can't take care of you here. That's how he thought. And then he went in there and there was no difference. And there are tons of Arab doctors and nurses there as well.
30% exactly. 30% is Arabs. 3,600 doctors and nurses. I know this because I was just there. I know all the numbers.
Wow. Right. So this is about identity. This is about the ability to say, I am who I am, period. And so the question that my son asked me to ask you, he doesn't, and so you feel free to yell at my son. He's 13 years old.
Oh, nice.
He loves you. You.
I started when he was 3 years old.
He loves you. He loves you.
Thank you.
He loves you. And like I said earlier, he's like, you're the only content creator. I know that you don't do it so much anymore, but who I love watching your stuff with him. I think it's awesome. But he asked me to ask you this question because he doesn't understand some of the things that you're saying right now. And so his question is, are you pro-Israel or pro-Palestine?
That's his question.
He asked me to ask you that. So how would you answer that to a 13-year-old?
Okay. Now, can I criticize you?
Yes.
As a father first?
Please. Yep.
Very sensitive thing to do.
No, please. I love it.
We just met.
Yeah.
Why is it either or? And why does your son think it has to be either or?
Why does he think that?
Why does he think that? That's the sad part.
So I'll tell you one reason he might think that.
Yeah.
Because his father, me, is constantly talking about the nuances of Israeli history, the nuances of identity, that his first time going to Israel, I introduced him to, this is something that most Jewish parents don't do when they bring their child to Israel for the first time. I introduced him to Palestinians. I wanted him to meet Palestinians in Israel. Yeah. And I wanted him to see actually that there are multiple identities here. And that was like one of the first things that we did. You got to see all the different identities here. So he's coming from a dad like that. Let me interpret myself charitably, easy thing for a human being to do, is I think that this is like educational psychology. When you're younger, this is, you see the world through binaries. You see the world through good, bad, black, white, tall, short, pro-Palestine, pro-Israel.
A lot of the Nas Daily content is that too. Binary. Best, worst, least, shortest, tallest. It's really binary.
So a lot of us, and as you get older, you're able to have more conceptual thinking, and you're able to see the abstractions. You're able to see different shades. So to an extent, I do think it's a biological, chronological age sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I also think that the way people talk about Israelis and Palestinians
is an either or.
Is either or. You are the exception, and I think that confuses the heck out of people.
So here's what
I think it's good to confuse the heck out of people.
Good, yeah, I like that.
Confuse
keep
people.
them on their toes. I want to say to his son is this. 98% of the planet is empty. It's empty, right? It's just land, nature, empty. Nobody there. Humans only have 2% of the planet, right? So, and there's 8 billion of us. So, 8 billion of us are, separating ourselves in 197 countries in like a small part of the world, a small section of the world. We can create, I say this to this kid, thousands of countries and make thousands of more countries and have 80 billion humans on the same planet and share it. So it's not either or. I'm not pro-Israel or I'm pro both. And what I would say to your son is, there are millions of people living in the West Bank and Gaza who deserve a passport. They deserve a passport. They deserve freedom of movement. They deserve to travel like your son does, right? And so they deserve a government. They deserve sovereignty. So I'm always been a believer of 2 states for 2 people, no matter how controversial that can be in Jewish circles. And I think that's where we should aspire to be. And I know a lot of people disagree with me, like the one-staters, But you must understand, I fight one-staters on both sides of the aisle. The Palestinian one-staters who are so bigoted that say there is no Israel. And there's also Israeli one-staters who are so bigoted they don't see a space for millions of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. You know, my mobile app developer in Nas.com, the technology company, is straight up from Gaza. One of the smartest people in the world, cannot travel. He now lives in Malta, but he doesn't have a document to travel, right?
How do you get to Malta?
You know, through crazy
connections.
Yeah. I mean, papers, some specific, but he cannot even like enter half the world or 9% of the world. So what I would say to your son is, we are equally indigenous. That's a term, not by me, by the father of Daniel Pearl. We're equally indigenous. For thousands of years, we lived in this land, and there was enough space for both of us to build 50 countries in that small thing. Now, we don't want to build 50 countries, but I think there's space for 2 states, for 2 people, no problem.
I want to talk a little bit more about Palestinian identity to understand this. What would you say to the people who say there's no such thing as a Palestinian, that they're just Arabs who live in the region? What would you say to them?
What I say to them is, who the hell cares? If enough people identify as Palestinian, that means it is a thing, right? Whether you like it or not. If enough people in Barcelona identify as their own state, just give them the goddamn own state, right? It is enough. It is.
Say why, though. Say why.
You know, because you are, to this person that's saying this, you are nobody to tell people what they identify or not. You're nobody, right? If enough people exist that say Somaliland is a country, right? And there is, then Israelis accept it. So what I'm trying to say is, it is no different. If you're okay with the Somaliland as a country, which the whole world is against, then why are you against Palestine as a country? Is it because it doesn't serve your interests? In that case, the problem's in you. So the way I think about it is, look, if enough people want it, it's a thing. All identity is fake. All money is fake.
It's all fixed. It's all created.
It's all okay. We don't have to go into that debate, but it's all.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I was in Ramallah a few years ago, and there was a speaker, a Palestinian speaker, who was saying to me, to the whole group, listen, I really respect Judaism. I respect your faith. I respect your religion. I really respect it. And, you know, whether you're from, you know, Romania or Bulgaria or Ukraine, I think your religion's a wonderful religion, but it's a religion. And that's what it is. I raised my hand and I said, with due respect, I actually defend and believe it's important to talk about Palestinian identity and to say that Palestinians are a distinct national people, a distinct people that's developed over time in the early 20th century, as all identities are developed over time. All nationalities over time. It's not, there weren't even nations until the 19th, 20th, whatever, something like that, 19th century. But for you to tell me that the Jews are not a people is the exact same issue I have when people say that Palestinians are not a people. His argument was that Judaism's a religion, Judaism's a faith, not a people. But Judaism has, as our construct, in Hebrew we say Am Yisrael. Yeah. Am Yisrael does not mean Dat Yisrael. It's the nation of Israel. That's what we're called. Yes. The people of Israel. Yeah. We're not the religion of Israel. That's a foreign import.
Yeah.
So I think it's so important to your point. Like, if the Jews are a people with a distinct identity,
then it is.
And that's it. and part of this like negation of identity that we keep on doing to our peoples is unhelpful.
By the way, don't get me started on my society. Now, I just spent the last 10 minutes criticizing your society. Don't get me started on criticizing my society. I don't want to be the guy who throws rocks at people and has a glass house. That guy is probably the most un-Islamic guy in the world, because the word Israel is mentioned so much in the Quran, so much. Yet for some reason, they deny the indigeneity, the indigenous nature of Jews in the land of Israel. And I just find it to be hypocritical. It's hypocritical. So whatever that guy's saying is like, oh, you're not a country, you don't deserve a country. He's being un-Islamic. And we need to really start linking both. Israel is mentioned in the Quran. There is enough evidence, archaeological evidence. I don't know why we even have this conversation. It's like debating that water is liquid.
Right, it is. Period.
That's it.
That's it. Well, identity matters. Could you read? I printed this out for you. Not that. I gave you so much. I'm going to hand it to you. This is a tweet of yours.
Oh, God.
From October 8th.
Famous tweets.
From October 8th. Could you read this?
The whole thing?
It's not that long.
I don't know why this tweet resonated so much.
Well, maybe read it out loud, and I'll let the audience decide.
Personal thoughts. By the way, this was October 9th, I believe. Oh, no, October 8th. Yeah. Wow, 6:20 p.m. Damn, 9 million views of a tweet. Damn. I didn't know that. Personal thoughts, not for everyone. Feel free to skip. For the longest time, I struggled with my identity, a Palestinian kid born inside Israel like WTF. Many of my friends refuse to this day to say the word Israel and call themselves Palestinian only. But since I was 12, that did not make sense to me. So I decided to mix the two and become a Palestinian Israeli. I thought this term reflected who I was, Palestinian first, Israeli second. But after recent events, I started to think and think. And then my thoughts turned to anger. I realized that if Israel were to be invaded like that again, we would not be safe. To a terrorist invading Israel, all citizens are targets. 900 Israelis died so far. More than 40 of them are Arabs, killed by other Arabs, and even 2 Thai people died too. And I do not want to live under a Palestinian government, which means I only have one home, even if I'm not Jewish. Israel. That's where all my family lives. That's where I grew up. That's the country I want to see continue to exist so I can exist. Palestine should exist too as an independent state, and I hope to see the country thrive and become less extreme and more prosperous. I love Palestine and I have invested in Palestine, but it's not my home. So from today forward, I view myself as an Israeli Palestinian. Israeli first, Palestinian second. Sometimes it takes a shock like this to see so clearly. Wow, I haven't read it in a while.
2 questions, having heard yourself read that out loud. Question number 1, does it still resonate with you 2.5 years later, almost 3 years later? Does it still resonate with you and after Israel's reaction in Gaza?
Great question. First of all, this tweet upended my life.
It upended it in a good way, bad way?
Both.
How so?
Upended my life.
Did you want it to upend it? Did you know what you were doing?
I didn't think of it as that.
You really didn't think of it?
Look, if a random person in Kansas...
And I remember you made a video a few months after about the history of Israeli-Palestinian conflict in a way you're like, this is going to be the most balanced take. This is the most balanced take.
A few months before that, actually.
Before that?
October 7th, yeah.
Oh
but
my God.
It just got viral after.
Is that what happened? Okay, fine.
Look, if somebody in America today makes a tweet saying, I'm not like African American. I am no longer Nigerian American. I am now American Nigerian. What will your reaction be? Who cares? Literally, who cares? You're Nigerian American, but then you're like, in a way, I didn't think my identity, the self-identity definition would be such big 10 million person news. I didn't think. I just didn't think I mattered or my view mattered. 2.5 years later, I feel even more strongly about it. I've actually enforced my belief in that. And I think a lot of people look at that tweet and really forget the entire paragraph about Palestine.
Right.
I love Palestine and have invested in Palestine. Yet every person in the Middle East, an Arab person, has completely avoided talking about this paragraph. I invested $150,000 in Palestine to buy an apartment as an investment to support, not to live in it, and not to make any money. I lost money on it. Yet that's all erased. And this is, I have one issue with the Middle East and the backlash behind this tweet is you don't see things in nuance. You see a Palestinian saying, I like Israel, and therefore you get angry, but you avoid all the good things they did for Palestine. And that is my problem with the Palestinian society and the Arab society in general, is you do not allow space for nuance. You do not allow for it. So I feel much more strongly about this, especially after the AI revolution and all the technology stuff. I just feel more and more connected to the culture of Israelis. I care about the same things an Israeli Jewish person cares about.
Right.
No, and after Israel's action in Gaza, does that make me happy? Absolutely not.
Meaning you don't think that the way Israel orchestrated that war was the way you would not that you're a military man.
I'm not a military man. I should have been.
Our earlier point in the conversation, you're right.
So I'm not a military man. I do not know how hard it was or how easy it was, right? But I do know the average person looks at what happened in Lebanon and says, well, that was pretty targeted, right? Pretty surgical. And what happened in Gaza, it didn't feel very surgical. And so I think that's where the questions people start asking themselves. So yes, I'm asking the same questions, and I think a lot of Israelis are asking the same questions. Could we have done it better with less force? Could we have done it more targeted? I am 100% with Israel killing terrorists. 1,000%. You know, the most dangerous thing for a Palestinian is another Palestinian with an AK-47 instilling fear in them. We live in a society, they live in a society of fear. And I do believe that whatever Israel is doing in Lebanon is freeing the Lebanese from Hezbollah. It does not take a genius to see it, okay? But you have to be really, really stupid not to see it. But at the same time, could we have done it in a less destructive way and a more effective way? Why is Hamas still there?
Yeah.
Why is Hamas still there? After all this death and destruction, why are they still there?
Maybe because it's impossible to kill an ideology.
Yes, it is possible. We killed the Nazi ideology. We killed the Emperor Japanese ideology. You can kill ideologies.
So then why? So what's your answer?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question. I don't know. Me and my friends in Gaza are so looking forward to not having Hamas in power.
Do you think most Palestinians don't want Hamas in power? It's very impossible to, when you look at the surveys, it doesn't seem like that necessarily. So
look, maybe I have, rose
colored glasses.
Colored glasses, right? But I have not met a Palestinian that says, I love Hamas.
Right.
I have not met them.
Right. They instill fear in the community, and then you have to conform to whatever it is that they are expecting of you.
There's one thing you must understand about Middle Eastern culture is that what you see outside is not what's inside. Public saying is one thing. Private thoughts are another. And it's like you never show your dirty laundry. That's why everybody's straight. Yet inside homes, at least 5% of the population is gay.
In Tel Aviv, they say that 25% of Tel Aviv identifies as LGBTQ. Which that seems like a high number.
I'm assuming it's people immigrating from all of Israel.
Right. Interesting. Oh, that's a good solution.
But I view it as, like, if you look at the countries that are most liberal, like let's say Amsterdam or Netherlands, I think roughly the percentage of self-identifying gay people is like 5%. So I'm assuming the natural rate of being gay in a society is 5%. Okay. So
no idea.
Yeah.
That could be.
But this is,
beyond my ken.
What's your thoughts on LGBT?
Yeah, not doing that right now.
Maybe I should put you in.
No. I have a few more questions for you. Yes, this is a history podcast. Unpacking Israeli History.
Wow.
Do you think history matters? And I want to understand it doesn't matter to learn the history. Like you just cited those statistics about the Hadassah hospital. Does it why is it important or not important to know the history of your people, your country, or whatever? What's your take on it?
I'm conflicted on this. And really, this is such a hard question. I'm conflicted on history. Half of me loves history. I made a full 100-day historical series with AI on just going back in time to understand the world. And my other half of me absolutely hates history because a lot of people are stuck in it. So the way I view history is that it is something you learn about, but it's not something you should get stuck in. So read history carefully or tread carefully as you go through history books, because 80% of my society is stuck in 1948. Their brains, everything about them is 1948. Their technology knowledge, 1948. Their history knowledge, 1948.
Meaning the year that they call. Did you call it the Nakba growing up?
My friends did.
They did call it the Nakba.
My friends did.
The Nakba means the catastrophe, and it's the year 1948. What Nuseir is speaking about is that in the year 1948, Israel.
If somebody's listening to this podcast and doesn't know that,
that's a problem.
I guess.
Yes, Okay, but hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs either were expelled or fled, and then 150,000 or so remained in Israel, including your family.
Yes. Look, this is
they're stuck in 48, you're saying?
Yeah, they're stuck in 48. They want to go back to 48 with the key to the house. The reason I love history, that's the half of me that loves it, is because you learn about other people's disasters. And when you read about the India-Pakistan massive migration waves in 1947, where roughly, I think, 15 million people or so had to switch sides. Hindu, that country. Islam, this country, right? And then 200 million Muslims got stuck in India.
You do like history. You know a lot of history.
No, I love it.
You love history.
Half of me loves history. Only half.
But the other half is like, don't be stuck in the past.
The other half absolutely hates history. I think it's the worst thing for humanity.
Move on.
Just move on. Really, it's we can build a part of my dream is to have that X-Men kind of thing and just erase everybody's memory for the last 77 years and wake up.
Right.
And what can we do together in Israel and Palestine? It's just a lot of them are stuck.
Right. Okay. Wait, I have a few random questions. One is, what do you want to change the Israel's national anthem to?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't know. But
do you think it should change or no?
I think it can stay the same, but I think you can add one sentence that makes Sephardic Jews more included and Arabs more included.
Right.
Just add one sentence.
Just add a sentence.
Yeah. And
add a clause.
Add a clause, for God's sake. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not here as a guy who's trying to be no justice, no peace.
Right.
I'm not that guy.
Right.
I'm the guy of I don't care about justice. I just care about peace.
That's so funny you say that, because in Palestinian society and in Israeli society, they say there's a line in a song that I love in Hebrew. It's called, they say, Kulam medabrim al shalom, af echad lo medaber al tzedek. Everyone speaks about peace, no one speaks about justice.
And in the Jewish society.
I heard that I'm both. Everyone speaks about peace, no one speaks about justice. Then I started thinking it's a zero-sum game. If both peoples are talking about, everyone talks about peace, no one talks about justice, because everyone wants justice. No justice, no peace. No, it's no peace, no justice. See what I did there?
That's a mind bend. Justice is my least favorite word.
You're anti-justice.
I'm anti-justice.
Wow, you have a lot of hot takes.
I told you I'm going to get canceled after this podcast.
Yeah, well, it's all good. You're fine.
I mean, I don't know if this is becoming spaghetti thoughts, but truly, I don't believe in seeking justice, because I've never seen a price for a human life. The concept of justice, it means that you can justify the death of a human with something else. How can you justify the death of a person? What is the price of one Jewish person dead? 6 million Jewish people dead. 1 million Palestinians dead. What's the price? There is none. It's such a subjective thing. Justice is subjective. I have zero interest in justice. This is why I want to move on.
You want peace?
Yes, and I don't know. And by the way, I think a lot of people want to move on the Arab side. They're just too scared to say it.
Last exploration with you.
Oh my God, let's go.
Last exploration with you. I want to talk about
you've done your homework.
We always do our homework. I'm interested to know. You did this spirituality challenge.
Question number 6.
You did 6 months studying 6 religions. You studied Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, and atheism. Which is your favorite? I'm kidding.
It's your religion.
Yeah.
Whoever asked the question,
exactly. I was wondering, with atheism, so many Jews are atheists.
That's interesting.
Did you know that?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Boo Jews. There's also Buddhists.
Yes,
right?
we made a video on Jubus, Boo Jews, whatever.
Yeah.
Why is that?
You should answer that question.
Well, you explored Judaism for 6 months.
I didn't explore the atheist part of Judaism, I'll tell you that much. I explored the most religious part of Judaism.
I saw that.
I went to the
How'd you select these people? I was very offended you didn't select me.
Well, you don't give me rabbi vibes.
By the way, not bad. Okay, I don't know if that...
Are you a rabbi?
No, I'm good.
Are you a rabbi?
No.
Are you actually not?
No, I'm good. No. I'm a teacher.
I like that.
I'm an educator with a microphone.
Rabbi Dov Ber was awesome.
He is awesome.
Incredible.
Awesome.
I think I viewed are they good on camera? That's actually number one. Are they good on camera? Have they dedicated their lives to studying the religion?
Yeah.
And can they play the part?
Yeah.
That's really it.
Right.
And are they mainstream enough in their thoughts? Because I didn't want to be a fringe person.
Right. Fringe is not reflective.
Yeah.
So I want to know why you think so many Jews are atheists.
I actually don't know.
No,
that's not that. My study was about Jews who believe in one God, Hashem.
Right.
That's it.
Well, Muslims believe in one God, Allah.
Oh, by the way, my representative of atheism
Yeah.
was Yuval Noah Harari.
Jew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was.
Yes.
And I went to the Galapagos Islands because that's where Darwin started this whole movement.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. I cannot answer that.
Right.
Look, I can try to finagle an answer, but I don't think the audience wants me to finagle answers.
You don't have to finagle anything.
Is that a Jewish word?
I don't know. It sounds like one.
Yeah.
It sounds.
Is
Is it finagle? It sounds like Yiddish.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I have no idea. It sounds like it should be. I think it has something to do with, you had the unique aspect of Judaism you had as, I think you said arguing. Was it arguing or
Yes.
no?
Chavruta.
So I don't know if that's the unique thing of Judaism. It might be. But there's two different stories in the Hebrew Bible, and I think one has animated Judaism more than the other.
How fitting that there are two stories.
Right, exactly.
Do you see the irony?
Yes, exactly. There's a story of Abraham and Sodom where he's bargaining and arguing with God to be like, do not destroy these people. And then there's the other story of Abraham with Isaac, his son, and he's obedient to God, willing to sacrifice his own son. And they're two different...
The Muslim side is that story.
The Muslim side, but it's not. It's Ibrahim and
his son,
Ishmael.
Yes, obedient to, I'm going to sacrifice my son to my God.
So I think one of the special things about Judaism is this dialectic of having both the story of Abraham and Sodom and Abraham and the binding of Isaac. And it's the combination of those two that is the Jewish story. It's this willingness to, on the one hand, submit, and the other hand, the willingness to debate and to explore and to do all of that. Now, when one goes up and one goes down, then I think that's where like atheism can emerge. Because when you're constantly debating, constantly arguing, constantly wanting to see every side of an issue, you might come to a conclusion that's like, oh, you know what? I'm able to, I have no boundaries. There are no borders. And I can see whatever it is that I want to see.
So it's the debate nature.
I think it's the curiosity. I think there's a curiosity.
So are you saying curiosity leads you to atheism? A lot of people will take offense to that.
I think
you just canceled yourself.
Canceled. I think that curiosity means that there are the way they used to say a heretic in English, the kofar in Hebrew, or apikoros is another way. The way they would say it in English is free thinker. That's how they translated it. Yeah.
That's so. I take such offense to the term free thinker. My friend is a free thinker in Singapore. And whenever I say, what's your religion? He says, I'm a free thinker. I respond to him, well, I guess I'm an enslaved thinker. What is a free thinker?
It's not a good translation. That's what I'm saying.
It's terrible translation.
Right. But I think that the unique thing of Judaism has historically been this willingness to be curious, this willingness to explore, this willingness to debate, combined with or married to this willingness to submit, this willingness to worship. And I think that combination of those two is the Jewish experience. Whereas in Islam, and I'm not Muslim, so I don't know enough. So all my listeners who are Muslim I don't know enough. So I've caveated my way out of this.
How many Muslim listeners do you think you have?
I don't know, but a lot. We have
Really?
I get emailed a lot from Muslim listeners and
If you're a
Palestinian
Muslim
listeners.
listener to this, please email him.
Yeah, please.
Tell him what you thought of this podcast. Tell him you loved it.
But I think that in Islam they have more of a culture. You're Muslim, right? So
Correct. I was born Muslim.
you're born. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Born Muslim.
Are you Muslim?
I mean, I guess on paper. I'm just not. I'm not.
You're not practicing.
I'm not practicing.
Right. You drink every now and then.
No, I don't drink for health reasons.
Okay.
I don't
Because you're 44%.
done with
You have to
life
change that shirt.
every 8 months.
But no, why can't, but you think the average expectancy of a male in America is still 76 years old?
Yes. I mean, I know it's complicated. You have to
Yeah.
change it.
Okay.
Anyway, he's asking about my T-shirt, which I don't change. It's about the percentage of my life that's
It's a
over.
great t-shirt.
Yes, but doesn't really translate in audio.
Well, no, this is video also.
I know, but most people.
Okay, fine, fair enough. Anyway, so I was going to say that with Muslims, there's more in the religion. There's more of a focus on the story of the binding, more so than the story of the arguing in Sodom. And I think that is a difference between. It's not better or worse. It's a difference that there's a submission to Allah in a different way than Judaism has.
It's in the name, and most people don't know that.
Yeah.
Islam means submit.
Yeah.
Right. Islamt.
Yeah.
Israel means wrestle with God.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know I wanted to tell you this. We named our daughter Sarit because of the pasuk, the verse that says, ki sarita im Elohim ve'im anashim v'tuchal, which means that because you struggled. Ki sarit, that's when the Jews go from Yaakov to Yisrael, to the name Yisrael.
Yeah.
Sarit, you struggled. Not v'tuchal means then you overcame and you were, doesn't matter that part. It's the struggle. So we named our daughter Sarit.
Wow. And is she argumentative?
Oh my Lord. She is amazing, delicious, and so difficult. So yes.
That's really interesting that you wanted to
Sarit.
almost like build that up
Yes.
in your kid's identity.
Yes, it's not about, it's about you got to go through it.
You know, the most popular name in Islam is Muhammad. It's everybody's name because it's almost like a form of submission. We all get the same name.
Right.
And so we don't have, like, you don't allow for like crazy variations of that name.
Oh, interesting.
So I say this with great sadness. I think there is this thing where it's like, you know, you put two Jews in a room and you get three opinions.
Yeah.
But I think if you put 2 million Arabs, you get one opinion.
Arabs, not Muslims?
Arabs, Muslims.
Okay.
Sometimes I
Can I give you a quick idea on the two Jews, three opinions thing?
Yeah.
And then I have one last question, but this is the last idea that I want to share with you. I heard this idea. I love it. The concept of two Jews, three opinions is not that there are two Jews, oh my gosh, they're so argumentative. There are three different opinions. It's this. It's that there's one Jew who has an opinion, a second Jew has another opinion. What emerges from those two opinions is a third opinion. It's a third.
Wow.
There's a synthesis.
That's some mental gymnastics.
You know?
I like it.
Okay. Here's
I want to comment on the religion thing. All right.
Comment on it.
My favorite religion is your religion, and not Judaism. It is everybody's favorite religion. And it's a really, really important note to understand. I love Islam. I love Judaism. I love Buddhism. I love atheism. I love it all.
Christianity.
Yeah, of course. Jesus has a great message.
Yes.
I don't know what Jews think about Jesus, but
Jesus has a great message. There's great messages.
yeah, no, it's great.
The way the religion, 100%, but the way the religion developed over time was in conflict with Judaism initially, and that hurt us for sure. So, but
but that's what I learned after studying 6 religions for 6 months, which I urge every single listener do what I did.
Study their religions.
1 month, buy the most popular book. Okay, so whatever book it is, it doesn't have to be the Quran or the Torah or whatever. It can just be like a book talking about it. Okay,
right.
Then go to the holiest site to really understand the humans. Okay, so Judaism, go to Jerusalem. Buddhism, go to Nepal. Atheism, go to Galapagos Islands, and just immerse yourself for 1 month into every belief system. This will be the best thing you do in your entire life, because after that, I've realized. You and I are equally right and equally wrong. And it's really freed me. It freed me from organized religion. It freed me. I can feel like I can fly above organized religion. And I can just see it, respect it, love it, learn from it, and move on. But never get stuck in it.
Right.
It's just like history. Never get stuck in history. Danger.
What would you say to people like me who are part of organized religion? Is that am I doing something wrong in your opinion?
No, I don't think you're doing something wrong, but I do think you need to spend a month studying Buddhism, like with not the.
Because why? What does it do for me?
Because you share this planet with 7-8 other billion people, and you should show interest in the 1 billion Indians who believe in 30 million gods, and try to understand why. Are we fundamentally so different, and what can I learn from them? So I think everybody in organized religion should go with greed to other religions and learn from them and steal some of their concepts. Because I do believe most of these religions came out as variations of each other. So like some argue, and I don't know if I believe this or not, Zoroastrianism was the first monotheistic religion. Then Judaism came. Great. Then from Judaism came out a simplified Judaism, Christianity. Awesome. Christianity was almost like a merge of Buddhism and Judaism because of trade and the Silk Road back then. These are all thoughts and ideas, and could be true, could be not. Then Islam came and built up on top of Jewish and Christian ideals, right? And built its own version for the Arabian world, right? With your own localized language. And then after that came thousands of other religions. Mormonism, Baha'ism, Ahmadiyism.
My wife wants to convert to Baha'ism. She won't, but she loves it.
Great.
When we went to Haifa,
So what is it? It's just a variation of Islam.
She loved the peaceful nature of it.
Great.
She's staying Jewish. But yeah.
for the audience, so you don't get canceled.
But getting canceled is so 2018,
Have you
2019,
spent
come on.
a month studying Hinduism?
I haven't spent a month doing anything.
Why? Well, okay, that is.
But no, meaning like seriously.
Why do you think you're right? Why are you going so deep in one category, the thing you were born with?
Well, I actually, one of the things I love about my religion and my people is actually the marriage of faith and doubt together. Doubt is a big part of the way we're taught, or I was taught to learn and study.
How much of your life have you spent learning the religion of a billion other humans, Hinduism?
I haven't spent a lot of time studying Hinduism. I
Okay.
spent a lot of time studying Christianity and Islam, but not Hinduism.
Yeah, so I really also see this like sort of like Western.
Yeah, is that very
monotheistic-
Western, right?
It's like
Yeah.
God has to be one. God has to be one, and it's like, and then Christianity says like, oh well.
Right, I was going to say about Zoroastrianism, it's actually there's the God of good and the God of evil, and so there's Ahura Mazda and that whole that whole story. So that's Zoroastrian, which is a very binary world. Judaism is different than that, which is this ethical monotheism, not just monotheism, but ethical monotheism.
Okay, great, but Eastern religions have given me an incredible eyesight, vision, understanding of the world, understanding of, I really, this is probably the first time I'm frustrated in this whole podcast.
Oof,
Can you, after everything we talked about?
that's it.
I'm frustrated
Religion.
because, the Western side of the planet, monotheistic side, let's say from Arabia to the left,
Yeah.
does not show any interest in Eastern religions. And Eastern religions really can be a source of happiness.
So what should I read? What do you recommend?
I think start with Buddhism, which is simplified Hinduism.
I know, but what should I? What's like the first thing you think I should read or watch or listen to?
I forgot the name of the thing, but I forgot the name.
And
of
so many Jews are attracted to Buddhism. You know that?
Yes, of course.
Why? Of course.
Of course, because Buddhism is so great.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
Muslims should do the same,
Right.
and Christians should do the
But
same.
Jews, for a certain reason, it's part of the exploration. I think there's an exploration. There's a desire to see something that's without boundaries.
I think Buddhism helps you in your today life, and I think monotheistic religions help you in your afterlife. That's why you need both. Because Buddhism has really helped me in my today-to-day life, much more than monotheistic religions.
So, do you view the purpose of religion as to help you,
Yeah.
not the reverse?
You help the religion?
That the purpose of you just said it. The name Islam is to serve. It's to submit. So there are two different ways to view religion. Is the purpose of religion to serve you, or is the purpose of religion for you to serve God, the God, or their God?
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely think it's religion is here to help you. It's almost like an inevitable.
That's very anti-Islamic in many ways. Then,
It is what it
like
is.
philosophically.
It is what it is. It's an inevitable outcome. Religion, inevitable outcome. When humans face such hardships, they must invent a story, and that story has to be an all-powerful thing beyond me. And that's the summary of thousands of religions.
Very Yuval Noah Harari of you.
I really, really loved
You
the atheism portion.
I think we got an answer, folks.
No.
No. It's your religion. It's your religion. I love it. Nuseir, you're an amazing inspiration, fun guy, cool dude.
That was super fun.
I loved chavruting with you.
Oh yeah,
I loved it. I love the back and forth. You've done.
We could go for hours.
Yeah, I'm going to end with this, and you can say whatever you want, but you've done really good things for the world. You've done really good. No. I got it. You made money. You have a great girlfriend. You have a great life. You live in Miami. You're doing great things.
I'm not a Miami boy, to be clear.
You're not a Miami boy.
I'm not a Miami boy.
You're not part of the manosphere.
No,
Definitely not.
No.
But you've done really good things for the world.
Thank
For
you.
people. You've opened people's eyes. You've given people reason to believe something. You've given people an education. You've taught people more history than probably anyone in the world.
No. Well, there's many about Khan academies.
I don't know if they have the reach that you have. I think it's done. I think you do it in a way that's sensitive, in a way that's empathic, in a way that shows that you care about other people. And I think it's really freaking awesome. And most importantly to me, for just one day, you've made me cool in the eyes of my 13-year-old son. So thank you.
Yes. That
That's
makes
it.
it all worth it.
Yes.
Thank you to the listeners, and thank you to you for a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Unpacking Israeli History is a production of Unpacked, an OpenDor Media brand. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a rating on Apple or Spotify. It really helps other people find our show. And one more time, I love hearing from you. So email me at noam@unpacked.media. This episode was produced by Rifki Stern. Our team for this episode includes Maxwell Carney, Jenny Falcon, Andrew Miller, Rob Pera, and Ari Schlacht. This episode was taped at the Relic Room in New York City. I'm your host, Noam Weissman. Thanks for being here. See you next week.